I've never believed in gut feelings, but the night I heard my neighbour whispering outside my door, I realised some instincts shouldn't be ignored. What I discovered after that still keeps me up at night. I've never been the kind of person who believes in gut feelings. I'm logical, grounded, the kind of guy who checks locks twice before bed but doesn't believe in ghosts or signs from the universe. So when I say that I knew something was wrong the moment I saw her that night, I can't even explain it. I just knew. It started about 6 months ago when I moved into a small apartment complex in North Carolina. I'd just gotten out of a long relationship, sold most of my stuff, and wanted a quiet place to reset. The complex was older, 2 stories, brick walls, and the kind of neighbours who mostly kept to themselves. I liked it that way. My unit was on the top floor, second from the end, with a small balcony that overlooked the parking lot. The first night I moved in, I noticed the woman in the unit directly across from mine. She was hard to miss. Mid-30s maybe, always in oversized sweaters, hair tied back in a messy bun. She had this calm, sad energy about her, the kind of person you could pass on the street and somehow feel their exhaustion without them saying a word. For the first few weeks, we'd exchange polite nods on the stairs, the occasional morning or have a good night. Nothing more. I didn't even know her name until one afternoon when I found her struggling with her groceries and offered to help. She smiled, grateful, and said, "Thanks, I'm Claire." She seemed nice enough, lived alone, worked as a nurse, always tired but kind. We chatted a few times after that. She told me she'd transferred hospitals recently, that her shifts were long, and that she mostly kept to herself. I didn't think much of it. I wasn't looking to make friends. I just wanted peace and quiet. But around month 2, weird things started happening. It began small. Some nights I'd hear footsteps in the hallway at odd hours, 2 or 3 a.m., followed by soft knocks on doors that went unanswered. Other nights I'd hear muffled voices, like someone arguing quietly, but when I stepped outside to listen, the hall would be empty. Then there was the time I was taking out the trash and saw Claire standing behind the building near the dumpsters, just staring into the woods. It was maybe 11 p.m. No light except for the yellow glow from the back door. She didn't move, didn't even look at me when I passed. I said her name, nothing. It was like she was in a trance. The next morning she waved at me cheerfully like nothing had happened. I almost convinced myself I'd imagined it. Then, about a week later, I woke up around 3 a.m. to this sound, like someone whispering right outside my door. It wasn't clear enough to make out words, but it was soft, rhythmic, and close. I sat up frozen, heart pounding. I waited. After maybe 30 seconds, it stopped. The next morning, I checked the hallway camera. The complex had cheap ones in the corners, but the feed for that night was blank. Corrupted, apparently. The landlord said it happens sometimes. That's when I started noticing Claire acting different. Her eyes looked darker somehow, like she wasn't sleeping. Once she asked if I'd heard anything strange at night. I said no, lying. I didn't want to sound paranoid. She nodded slowly and said, "It's probably just him." "Him?" I asked. She smiled faintly. "My brother. He stays over sometimes, but I'd never seen anyone go into or leave her apartment, not once." Then one Friday night, I came home late from work, around 11:30. The hallway was dim, one of the bulbs had gone out, and as I passed her door, I noticed it was slightly open. I froze. There was no sound inside, but the air smelled metallic, like rust and something else. I hesitated, then knocked lightly. "Claire?" No answer. I pushed the door open a few inches and called again. Still nothing. I don't know why I stepped inside. Maybe curiosity, maybe concern. The lights were off except for the glow from the living room TV. Static, no channel. The apartment looked normal enough, except for one thing. There was a photo frame face down on the coffee table. I picked it up. It was a picture of Claire and a man, tall, smiling, arm around her shoulders. But his face had been scratched out. Deep, angry lines across the glass. That's when I heard it. A faint creak from the hallway behind me. I turned, expecting her. Nothing. Just the door, still slightly open, swaying with the draft. My heart was racing. I set the frame down, whispered her name once more, and left quickly, closing the door behind me. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I didn't see her. Or the next. A week went by. Her blinds stayed shut. Her car sat in the same spot, unmoved. I thought maybe she'd gone on a trip, until one morning I woke to a horrible smell. At first, I thought something had died in the walls. The hallway reeked, a thick, sour odour that made my stomach turn. I told the landlord, who said he'd look into it, but nothing changed. By the second day, the smell was unbearable. A few neighbours started complaining. Finally, maintenance came with a key to check Claire's unit. I stood in the hall as they knocked. No answer. The man sighed, muttered something and unlocked the door. I'll never forget what happened next. He opened it, took one step in, and staggered back, gagging. I saw him grab the wall for balance. Another tenant called 911. Within minutes, the building was swarming with police. They taped off the hallway, her door wide open. I caught a glimpse inside, and I wish I hadn't. The living room was wrecked, furniture overturned, carpet stained dark in huge patches. And there, on the floor near the couch, was something covered with a sheet. A few hours later, a detective came to my door. He asked if I knew Claire, when I'd last seen her, if I'd noticed anything unusual. I told him everything, except about the night I went inside. I left that part out. They were there for hours. By the next morning, news had spread. A woman found dead in her apartment. No signs of forced entry. Possible homicide. I couldn't process it. Claire, the quiet nurse with sad eyes, was gone. I felt sick, guilty, like I should have done something. A few days later, I was called into the station for more questions. The detective, a tall guy named Miller, asked if I'd ever met her family. I said no. He showed me a photo of the man from the picture I'd seen, only this time his face wasn't scratched out. "This is her ex-husband," Miller said. "Name's Ryan. They divorced 2 years ago. You ever see him around?" I shook my head. He studied me for a second, then said quietly, "We found his wallet in her apartment." That night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I kept replaying every weird thing. The footsteps, the whispers, her saying, "It's probably just him." A week passed, the police presence faded, the smell eventually disappeared. Life in the complex limped back to normal. Then, one night around 2 a.m., I woke to a soft tap, tap, tap on my door. My chest tightened instantly. I froze, listening. The tapping came again, slightly louder. 3 knocks, then silence. I got up slowly, went to the peephole, and the hallway was empty. I opened the door a crack. Nothing, just the faint hum of the exit light. I almost closed it, and then I noticed it. A note taped to the bottom of the door. It said, in neat handwriting, "You shouldn't have gone inside." I stood there, heart hammering, scanning the hall. No one. I tore it down, locked the door, and sat awake till morning. The next day, I showed the note to Detective Miller. He frowned, took it, and said they'd look into it. But something in his tone told me he didn't think much of it. For the next few weeks, nothing happened. I started sleeping again, convincing myself it was over. Until one night, around 11 p.m., I came home and saw something that made my blood run cold. In the window of Claire's old apartment, the one police had sealed, there was light. Faint, flickering, like a candle or a phone flashlight. I stood there, staring. Then a shadow moved across the blinds. Someone was inside. I called Miller immediately. They sent a car. When officers arrived, they found the door forced open. Inside, they said, were signs that someone had been squatting. Empty food containers, a blanket, and candles. But whoever it was had just left. On the wall, written in black marker, were the words, "She's not gone." After that, I moved out within the month, but it didn't end there. About 3 weeks after settling into my new place, I got a call from Detective Miller. They'd finally gotten DNA results back from Claire's apartment. There was a second set of prints, he said. Male, unidentifiable, not in any system. Then he paused and added, "But there's something else. We found something under her floorboards, a phone. It's old, damaged, but one of the last texts sent was to your number." My blood went cold. "What?" He read it aloud. "I think he's inside." I had no idea what to say. I never got that message. No missed text, no notification. But when I checked my old phone records later, I saw it. A single failed message attempt at 2:41 a.m. the night before they found her. To this day, I don't know who he was. The case went cold. They never found her ex-husband. Some people think he's dead too. Others think he ran. Sometimes, though, I dream about that night. The static on her TV, the picture with his face scratched out, the smell in the hall. And once, just once, about 2 months after I moved, I came home to find a photo slipped under my door. No note, no message. It was the same picture I'd seen in her apartment, Claire and her husband. But this time, both faces were scratched out.